Hello, sinners. How are you? On today's installment of the Letterboard of Truth, our quote of the day is... who cares? That is what I have to say to those who are way too invested in other people's love lives. As a member of the Alphabet Mafia, Alphabet Soup, the Skittles people, if you will, I think it's safe to say that all of us under the rainbow umbrella want positive representation. We've certainly made strides in recent years. I think Hollywood has made more of an effort to include LGBTQ plus people in their stories, for better or for worse. However, at least from my perspective as a lesbian, I find that the asexual / aromantic community is often left out of the conversation. I rarely, if ever, see asexual representation in the media or online. Because of this, I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions on what it means to be asexual or aromantic. Just so we're all caught up to speed, asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction to others or lower absent interest in or desire for sexual activity. It may be considered a sexual orientation or the lack thereof. It may also be categorized more widely to include a broad spectrum of asexual sub-identities. When someone is aromantic, that means they experience little or no romantic attraction to anyone. In other words, they don't have romantic feelings. If you do experience sexual attraction, you are an allosexual, and if you do experience romantic attraction, you are an alloromantic. Both asexuality and aromanticism exist on spectrums, and there are many labels that fall in between being allo or being ace and aro. So if you are an ace or aro sinner watching me right now, congrats! Today is your lucky day. The good news is you're finally being talked about. The bad news is Matt Walsh is the one talking about you. So, who doesn't love Matt Walsh? In case you've never heard of him, Matt Walsh is a political commentator at the Daily Wire. Matt would describe himself as a theocratic fascist. I would describe him as the embodiment of the pubic hair that gets caught in your shower drain.
What is a woman?
Matt has made it his life mission to go after the trans community over the past couple years. In fact, I firmly believe Matt plays a huge part in why there's so much more anti-trans rhetoric on social media. But Matt set his sights on the ace community in his Valentine's Day special last month. Stop glorifying asexuality. You know, Matt, I could tell you many things that you should stop glorifying. The video has only just begun, so I'm gonna go easy on you for now. The Washington Post releases a column profiling the lives of asexuals on Valentine's Day. This isn't something to be proud of. Just off the bat, I don't see how this means people are glorifying asexuality. If you think about it for literally more than 2 seconds, it's totally understandable why someone who is asexual or aromantic may feel out of place on Valentine's Day, the holiday centered around romance. And if you don't experience romantic or sexual feelings, I get why you might feel ostracized. Since Matt has mastered the art of getting angry over things he doesn't care to understand, I'm sure this video will be just swell. Just feel good vibes all around. So if you are ace or aro and you're watching this video right now, I'm so sorry in advance. I don't think this was the representation you were looking for. It's always a great day when you can listen to Matt Walsh babble for 13 minutes straight. All right, asexuals, let's see what the you did this time.
Today is Valentine's Day, in case you didn't realize. In fact, if you're a man listening to this and you just remembered what day it is, don't panic. There's still time to run to the store on the way home from work, pick up a gift. Most of the cards and flowers probably get picked over by now, but fortunately, I've always found that the pots and pans and kitchen utensil aisle of the grocery store is well stocked around Valentine's Day. So grab a box of forks, a spatula, maybe a new spaghetti strainer if you really want to spoil her. Throw them in a gift bag. You're gonna have a very happy wife.
Oh. That's his version of a joke. I get it, because all women do is cook, clean, and make baby. So get her a pot or a pan, and she'll be happy. He is the director of the hit documentary, What is a Woman? I guess we should all be going to him for advice on how to please a woman. Ooh.
But of course, not everyone is interested in romance, and for some, even a brand new non-stick frying pan wouldn't be enough to pique their romantic interest.
To be fair, who wants a frying pan as a gift? Maybe if they asked for it. I don't know, but like that seems like a lame gift to give someone for a holiday. Jesus, man. Also, why are you already getting mad that some people don't want romance in their life? Is that really a big deal? Are you that invested?
This is the so-called asexual and aromantic community. Unfortunately, they are the ones that the Washington Post is thinking about on Valentine's Day. This weekend, WAPO published a piece written by a woman named Samantha Sherry. It's titled, quote, "How Asexual and Aromantic People Make Valentine's Day Their Own." Now, the article begins by telling us about a 37-year-old person who goes by the name Odell Pax, and the Post reports this. Odell Pax identifies as both asexual and idem romantic, which means that she does not have any desire for sex and she doesn't make any distinction between romantic and platonic feelings. So what to do with a holiday that assumes romantic and sexual attraction are the norm?
I've never heard of the term idem romantic. The more you know.
This year, she's doing what she usually does on February 14th, making time for self-love and self-care. For her, that means soaking in a hot bath before curling up in bed with her three stuffed animals, Findle, Marcia, and Sylvia. The last two names are named after trailblazing trans activists Marcia P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera.
That sounds nice, like a warm bath, relaxing in bed. That sounds lovely. What's the issue with that?
Yes, why not? I mean, why not tell us the names of this grown adult stuffed animals?
What do you have to say about that stupid walrus on your bookshelf behind you? Is that not a stuffed animal? Bestie, you're the pot calling the kettle black.
And if that's not enough, we're also treated to a picture of Odell with the stuffed animals, along with this caption. This is the caption under the picture. It says, Odell Pax with her three dolphin stuffed animals, Sylvia, Findle, and Marcia, from left to right.
Oh, they're so cute. Oh my God. Such a wholesome picture. You go, Odell.
It's a very good thing they specified from left to right, because otherwise we wouldn't know for sure which stuffed animal is named Marcia and which one is Sylvia.
Well, it's a very pressing issue, Matt. Plus, I would much rather hear about Odell's stuffed animals than whatever you're gonna say.
So now we know, and we can sleep easy tonight. Sleep easy anyway with the somewhat cruel satisfaction we all sometimes experience after seeing someone else's utterly pathetic and depressing life and feeling deeply relieved that it's not our own life.
How is that depressing? Like, if Odell likes stuffed animals, then so be it. I love stuffed animals. They're very comforting. They're very cute, very wholesome. Just because you don't like stuffed animals, even though you literally have a stuffed animal right behind you, who cares? Like I said, that sounds like a very pleasant night. Like, taking hot baths and cuddling in bed is something most people like to do. Just because it's not your cup of tea, that doesn't make it bad.
I try not to delight in the misfortune of others, and I don't delight at all in Odell's misfortunes. I don't. But I will admit that when I read this article and I see that picture, I can't help but think to myself, my God, I am glad I'm not that person.
I think the rest of the human population will sleep easy tonight knowing that we are not Matt Walsh. Get yourself together, Matt. Do you hear yourself? You're getting pressed over a stuffed dolphin. 3 stuffed dolphins, who 2 of them may be sharks. My point still stands, though. Like, is this breaking news? No, but genuinely, who cares?
Anyway, here's more from the Washington Post. It says, Pax is not alone in rejecting the notion that relationships acknowledged on February 14th have to include romance and sex. Roughly 1% of lesbian, gay, and bisexual Americans are asexual, according to a study from the Williams Institute at the University of California, Los Angeles. Although experts such as Jennifer Pollitt, Assistant Director of Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies at Temple University in Philadelphia, believe the population is undercounted and its influence underestimated because of a lack of awareness.
I think that makes sense. Depending on what area of the world you live in, what area of the United States you live in, some people might not be out due to fear, due to safety reasons, due to being in denial. So it makes sense why those numbers might be a little off. I think since more people are out and proud, that's why the number of LGBT people has gone up in the past few years because of acceptance. But again, I really don't see what all the fuss is about. I guess it was a slow news day at the Daily Wire and they were just scraping the bottom of the barrel for some content to get mad over.
Sexual intimacy is often placed on a pedestal to sell products, especially for Valentine's Day, Pollitt said. But love without romance or sex is just as valid and fulfilling for asexual and aromantic people. As more people understand that, there will be more support for people exploring their relationship wants, hopes, and needs. In the meantime, many people on the A spectrum, also known as aspec or Aspec, an umbrella term for anyone who identifies as asexual and aromantic, are finding creative ways to define the holiday on their own terms.
That makes perfect sense. And not just for the ace or aro community, but for everyone. If you're single on Valentine's Day and you don't have a significant other to spend the day with, you can show love in all kinds of ways. You can get your friend their favorite candy, call your grandma, tell her you love her.
Christmas.
You can get your dog his favorite kind of treats. There's like an infinite amount of ways to express and show your love on Valentine's Day without the romance or the sexual stuff. So if ace and aro people are doing these sort of things as a way to feel included on the holiday, I don't see why that's a big issue because it really doesn't affect you at the end of the day. Like, this is such a non-issue. I've seen conservatives time and time again yell at nothing. This is like a new low for them. God, imagine getting mad that some people aren't having sex or going on dates for Valentine's Day.
Now, the article does continue providing along the way more examples and anecdotes of asexual and aromantic people celebrating Valentine's Day, but I think we've probably already heard quite enough. We've heard, for example, roughly 1% of lesbian, gay, and bisexual Americans are asexual. Now, let's think about that. Bisexual Americans are asexual.
Well, romantic and sexual attraction are two different things. Like, if you look at the split attraction model, someone's romantic orientation can be different from their sexual orientation. So just because someone is bisexual, they can be aromantic, meaning that they might want sexual connection, but they don't desire a romantic connection. And vice versa, there are people who are homoromantic but asexual, meaning that they want to be in a gay romantic relationship with someone, but they don't want sex with them. They're not sexually attracted to that person. This really isn't that hard of a concept to grasp. And plus, even if you don't understand it, literally, how does it affect you? Like, why are you getting so upset that some people just don't want to have sex or don't want to be in relationships? It's really none of our business. We're like only a third of the way through the video and I'm already like, oh, you know?
That is exactly like saying that 1% of polytheistic people are atheistic, or that 1% of empathetic people are apathetic.
Huh? Sure, maybe the terminology was a little off. Maybe they could have said that like biromantic people are asexual or vice versa. There's more to being LGBT than the sex part. Like, there's also the romantic aspect for it.
You cannot be something and also the negation of that thing at the same time. If somebody is sexually attracted to two sexes or sexually attracted to the same sex, that means they do experience sexual attraction, which would seem to preclude them from claiming the title of asexual. But then again, we must remember the first rule of the LGBT cult, which is that they can make it up all as they go along, and nothing they say has to comport with anything else they say.
Yes, the theocratic fascist wants to talk about a cult. Awesome. But like I said, romantic and sexual attraction are two different things. If they were the same thing, does that mean you love every single person you have sex with? No, because they're two different things. Some people might experience one without the other, some might experience both, and some not at all. Everyone has their preferences. Everyone has their likes and dislikes. That is okay. I love how Matt's entire career is based around hating people that have different experiences than him.
And they must never be held to even the most basic standard of coherence. That's why any attempt to nail down a definition of what qualifies as asexual or aromantic will ultimately wind up as fruitless as any attempt to get anyone on the left to give a definition of literally any other word they use.
You know, you could easily look up what asexual and aromantic means, right? Like, the definitions I pulled up at the very beginning of the video took me 2 seconds to find. Just type in what is asexuality, what is aromanticism, and you'll get your answer right there. You can easily look up the split attraction model too. Like, this is all basic shit you can easily find on the internet in 2023. And also, just again, why do you care? Why do you care that some people don't experience sexual attraction? I do partially understand the confusion though, because say if someone says they're bisexual, you assume that they are romantically and sexually attracted to two or more genders. But I would say most of the time when someone is aromantic or asexual, they clarify that in the labels they use. For example, they'll say, I am a bisexual, aromantic person, meaning that they are attracted sexually to two or more genders, but they don't want a romantic relationship or they don't experience that romantic attraction. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but you get the idea.
Have you ever heard of a data broker?
Oh, shut up. No free clout. I'll play in your ad, Matthew.
Asexuality is an orientation defined by a lack of sexual attraction. That means that an asexual or ace person experiences little or no sexual draw towards others and has little or no desire to have sexual relationships with other people. However, the asexual spectrum has many nuanced identities that fall under the umbrella term asexual. Some of the more common ones are gray sexuality or gray asexuality, where someone experiences sexual attraction rarely or infrequently. Another common identity is demisexuality or demi-asexuality, where someone only experiences sexual attraction after forming a close emotional or romantic bond with another person. There are many other identities on the ace spectrum, but what they all have in common is the lack, to varying extents, of sexual attraction. Aromanticism, on the other hand, is an orientation characterized by a lack of romantic attraction. While asexuality is a sexual orientation, aromanticism is a romantic orientation, and the two don't necessarily correlate. Someone may be asexual but not aromantic, or vice versa, or they may be on both spectrums.
Cambridge made both definitions very easy to understand, very simple. And of course, there's more nuances to being asexual or being aromantic, but this is a great place to start. I think that was a perfect definition.
An aromantic or aro person experiences little to no romantic attraction towards other people and has little or no desire to form a romantic relationship with anybody else. Like asexuality, aromanticism is a spectrum which includes gray romanticism or gray aromanticism, where someone occasionally or rarely experiences romantic attraction, and demi-romanticism or demi-aromanticism, where someone only experiences romantic attraction after forming a strong emotional bond with another person.
It makes sense that there would be spectrums for being asexual and being aromantic, just like being gay and straight is a spectrum, just like being a man and a woman, there's a spectrum. We gotta get rid of this black and white thinking when it comes to humans. The human experience can be different for every single person. So it's important to acknowledge that, humanity is on a spectrum when it comes to a lot of things, like your sexuality and your gender, your self-expression as well. No one is gonna be 100% one or the other. Sure, you might come close to one end of the spectrum or the other, but no one is like 100% anything, because everyone has different nuances and preferences and experiences.
Aromanticism is considered an umbrella term that encompasses all the identities that fall on the aromantic spectrum. Make sense now?
Yep, for any normal human, that makes sense. The definition is right there, Matt. Like, why are you acting like this is some mind-blowing or complex topic?
Now, there's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on here, buddy. The definition is right there. Just refer back to your stupid little notes on your stupid little counter.
Let me amend that. There is nothing going on here. This is a whole lot of nothing, which is trying to sound like something.
Technically, there is nothing going on because asexuality means the lack of sexual attraction, which means there would be no sexual attraction there. And then same thing with aromantic. Even so, what is the big deal? So what? Some people don't experience sexual attraction. So what if some people don't have romantic feelings for others? This literally doesn't affect your quality of life in any way. Asexuals, they just want to vibe and have a good time with their stuffed animals. Who cares? For the side that's all about freedom of speech, freedom of expression, you really don't like when someone is expressing themselves in a way that you do not.
It's a bunch of narcissistic, fart-sniffing mumbo-jumbo dressed up to sound complex and nuanced, when in fact all the complexities and nuances are just varying degrees of self-contradiction.
That's funny, because that's how I would describe the Daily Wire.
There's actually no meaningful distinction between sexual attraction and romantic attraction. The two terms are synonyms.
No, they're not. Do you love every person you have sex with? No, you don't. At least for some people. Say if you're a person who, hooks up with whoever. It doesn't matter, as long as it's safe and consensual and whatnot. Do you love every person that you're having sex with? No. You are having sex because you have sexual feelings towards them. That doesn't mean there are romantic feelings there. There's more to love than just the sex part. You can be with someone romantically and not have sexual feelings towards them. This is just basic Am I wrong? Someone being asexual or aromantic is not a difficult concept to grasp. Sure, I might not understand it as someone who does experience both, but why? Why does it matter? Right? Just let people live their lives. They're not harming anyone. They're just vibing.
If a person told you that they were romantically attracted to you, but not sexually attracted, they will have given you no useful information about their feelings towards you.
You mean when they literally told you they want to be in a relationship with you but not have sex with you? That wasn't helpful information. That was very clear communication. This is like the equivalent of telling someone that the sky is blue but they insist that it's green. No, Look, the sky is blue. Ah! Cambridge University laid it out very simply for you. You can't just say the facts are false because you don't like what you're reading.
They will, however, have given you useful information about the tedious inner workings of their own inane and pretentious minds.
That just means you're not compatible then. If you're seeking a romantic and sexual connection with them and they're only seeking a romantic connection with you, then you're not compatible. Don't date. Don't have sex with them. Find someone who has the same intentions as you so you don't waste anybody's time.
As for demi-aromanticism, or someone who feels romantic attraction, especially after forming a strong emotional bond, well, that is simply called being a person. I mean, it's more common that a woman's romantic attractions hinges on an emotional connection, but for men or women, this is a rather normal way for things to work. So here we see again how the LGBT cult,
theocratic fascist,
not satisfied to legitimize every degraded fetish they can find, has now set its sight on fetishizing even what's normal and healthy.
So I'm not the most educated on demisexuality. I only have a basic understanding of it. So if you are demisexual or demi-romantic, please comment your thoughts down below. I would love to hear from you. Educate me, please. I'm begging you. And educate Matt while you're at it.
This is a trick they get away with because, as it turns out, plenty of otherwise normal and healthy people want to be members of the cult.
I mean, let's be real. Our monthly soirees are pretty fun. The Kool-Aid's not bad either.
The best way to rack up social capital is to claim membership in the Alphabet Club. That's because LGBT people in the modern United States are not only not oppressed.
Tell that to all the trans people living in states that are trying to ban gender-affirming care,
but are in fact the least oppressed people to have ever walked the face of the planet.
We have gained a lot of rights and protection under the law in recent years, but we have to remember, gay marriage was only legalized in the whole United States less than 10 years ago. Before that, it was up to states' discretion. We've only had these rights for a very short amount of time, especially when you look at the history of the United States. Let's not forget that many folks in the LGBTQ plus community are also part of other marginalized communities, which are also factors into how they get treated in the United States. This is why intersectional feminism is very important.
What about actual asexual people? How should we understand those people who really don't experience sexual attraction and who therefore can validly claim the label of asexual? Well, I think there are a few things to keep in mind about this group. First of all, I'm extremely skeptical that most of the people that claim to be asexual are actually asexual.
You're not asexual because I say you're not. Okay, Matt, tell me why people are faking asexuality.
Somebody with a low sex drive is not asexual.
No, asexuality and libido are two different things. Someone can be asexual and still crave the feeling of stimulation or getting off. I know this sounds like an oxymoron, but at least from what I've seen, there are still plenty of asexual people who have sex for a variety of reasons. Being asexual doesn't mean you have a low sex drive, and vice versa. There are many reasons why someone who experiences sexual attraction can have a low sex drive. It could be due to medication, medical conditions, etc., etc. But someone can be asexual but still have a high sex drive because they crave that feeling of arriving.
Someone who doesn't desire romantic relationships is not asexual.
It's almost like sexual and romantic orientations are different. All right. Okay, Matt.
Keep in mind the left will always do everything it can to inflate the statistics for any of the identity groups that it invents.
The facts aren't false because you don't like them.
That's why the leftist group, the Trevor Project, has a page on its website with information about asexuals where they stipulate that asexual people might still, quote, fall in love, experience arousal and orgasm, masturbate.
Okay. I'm going to let him finish because I'm getting angry.
And engage in sexual activity.
Just because someone is asexual, that doesn't mean the equipment down there isn't working. Sex drive and sexual orientation, two different things.
In other words, lots of people they call asexual are not at all, in any definitional sense of the term, really asexual.
I feel like anything I say is fruitless because he's not going to listen. I've repeated myself many times in this video. I'll say it one more time just to get it through your thick skull, Matt. Libido, sexual attraction, they are not one and the same. Just because an asexual person has, a high libido, that doesn't mean they want to sleep with someone. They just crave the feeling of finishing, of I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but if you actually paid attention and did your research and tried to have an open mind, you would grasp the concept. All right, we have a minute or so left, so let's just power through this.
Most of them are simply just selfish, lonely, depressed people with relatively normal libidos who have chosen asexuality as their identity group in order to give some meaning to their self-centered existence.
That makes absolutely no f***ing sense whatsoever. I'm genuinely like trying to understand what he's saying, but he's just like going in circles. Like, I'm dizzy. Every statement he says is worse than the previous one. Simply stating that you don't desire to have a sexual relationship with someone means that you are a lonely, depressed person. Oh, and narcissistic. Matt probably has that same sentiment with most people under the LGBT umbrella. There's also more to a person than their sexuality. Just because they have a label for this specific part of their identity doesn't mean that that's their whole identity. You know what? I could easily turn around and say that you calling yourself a funny and interesting person means you're trying to give yourself some meaning to your self-centered, lonely, and depressed existence. Who could play at this game, Matty boy?
Like most trendy modern identity groups, this one is, for the most part, just a cover for narcissism. It is a coping mechanism to cover up a character flaw, which is narcissism.
Is everyone who isn't exactly like you, like, just completely invalid? No. Everyone has their own experiences and preferences and ways of living as a person because we're all different. If we were all the same, life would be very boring. Matt is just pressed that people can live differently than him and still be happy. That there are people who don't experience sexual or romantic attraction and still live happy, healthy, fulfilled lives. If anything, that is self-centered. Thinking that people can't be happy when they live differently from you.
But assuming that there does exist a collection of people who truly, and through no fault of their own, have no sexual attraction, no desire for sex at all, no capacity for sexual arousal, etc., then we could say two things about this group. Number one, it's almost certainly very small. It's not going to be anywhere near 1% or even half of 1%. Number two, it's not an identity, least of all a sexual identity. If you truly lack the ability to experience sexual attraction, then something has likely gone awry physiologically. You have an issue that you might try to fix rather than making it into your whole personality.
Just because you're asexual or aromantic, that doesn't mean something is physically wrong with you. I think we've established like 400 million times in this video, sexual drive and sexual attraction, different things, can be connected, but also not. But someone simply sharing their experiences as an asexual person doesn't mean that they're making it their whole personality. They're talking about a facet of their identity. And since there is such a lack of aromantic and asexual representation in the media, when someone comes out and talks about their experiences being in those communities, it's a good thing because it makes people feel less alone. Labels help a lot of people because it gives them a sense of self. It gives them a way of forming community with other people who feel and exist like they do. And let me just say, I don't think the person in the Washington Post article was making asexuality their personality, or in general, asexual and aromantic people are making that their whole personality. There are many things that make up your personality, and it's okay if being asexual or aromantic is part of your personality because that is partially what makes you you. That's fine if you want to talk about it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Now, you shouldn't be ashamed. It's not your fault, but you also shouldn't make your inability to experience sexual attraction into the centerpiece of your identity as a human being.
Matt's really saying it's not your fault. You shouldn't be ashamed of it, but if you dare mention it once, you're a lonely and narcissistic freak. Matt Walsh just really wants people to have sex. He's the same kind of dude that's like, don't have sex before marriage. And then when asexuals are like, okay, he's like, oh, not like that. Like, make up your mind. Maybe it's just me, but I have never cared so much about someone else's love life besides my own. It seems very odd to get this flustered over what people do or don't do in the bedroom or behind closed doors in general.
Neither does it make sense to be proud of this inability. I mean, the only thing more bizarre than marching around and claiming to be proud of your sexual attraction is marching around and claiming to be proud of your lack of sexual attraction.
I think when people say that they're proud to be gay, proud to be lesbian, proud to be bisexual, they're proud of being able to be themselves in a world where many people hate them. At least that's what it means to me. So when ace or aro people come out and say that they are proud to be ace or aro, they're saying that they're proud to exist and be who they are in a society that centers sex in every aspect of life. I hate the notion from this video and just in general that if you even say that you're gay or even talk about being gay or whatever identity you are, that means you're making it your entire personality. You're doing too much with it.
And that's why today, on Valentine's Day, I will not cancel all asexuals.
That's good.
They have enough to deal with, especially on a day like today. Instead, I'm specifically canceling these flag-waving asexuals, like those profiled by the Washington Post, especially the ones who have stuffed animals that they name.
So it's fine to be asexual just as long as you don't talk about it. Got it. It's very much a don't ask, don't tell situation.
They are all today canceled.
Well, don't cancel the dolphins. Don't cancel the stuffed animals. What did they do to you? They weren't asexual. Well, that was stupid. It's so interesting to watch someone get so bothered over people simply existing. People simply being themselves. Just for the record, if you are watching and you are ace or aro, no, you are not narcissistic or lonely or depressed or any other thing Matt Walsh said simply because you state you are asexual. You are valid, you are loved, and you make Matt Walsh mad, which is very cool. I like that most of us in the LGBTQ plus community can raise Matt Walsh's blood pressure simply by existing. I'm sure you all have plenty of thoughts on what we just watched, so don't be shy. Feel free to comment them. If there are other videos by Matt Walsh or any of the hooligans at the Daily Wire you want me to respond to, let me know down below. And in general, if you'd like to see me talk about anything in particular going forward, I have a Google form linked in the description where you could submit your video ideas. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a tiny thumbs up and subscribe down below. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time with a brand new video. Bye!